morning. It is July the 17th. Rise and shine. This is Coffee Talk. We get together 7 days a week, chat about what's going on in the world of weather. We sip some caffeine, coffee, tea, protein shake, whatever the case may be, and get you updated. And right off the bat, big story continues to be Invest 93. Now it's pulling away from us. That's the good news, of course, continues to pull away from us, but it's now getting awful close to Louisiana. Here's a look at the computer forecast models, and I just want to zoom it in. So it's out over water right now. Not exactly the picture of health, not exactly in a great spot for tropical development. The expectation, though, is that as it progresses forward, it's going to dump a ton of rainfall in Louisiana. And as a matter of fact, it's already been doing that. Here's a look at the radar data out of there. You can kind of see that swath of rain that has already moved through the Crescent City, and certainly more rainfall in the forecast there. So, development chances for this. It has gone down because it spent a considerable amount of time over land. Now sitting at a 30% chance of forming over the next 2 days' time. Essentially, it's really unorganized. It's just a bunch of rain. That said, though, when we look at the overall ensembling, and this is what we've been doing quite a bit here recently, European still says, hey, we could probably see a depression form, like right as it's skirting the coastline. But to put it into perspective, the European is also saying there's not a chance that we're going to see a tropical storm form. So remember all those people that were saying, oh my gosh, Dexter is forming, it's going to be terrible. Interesting. Anyway, I digress. So, really not expecting a tropical storm to form, but you can see, look at all of that moisture. That's just going to be, I'll bring it back here. Like, look at all of this moisture through this afternoon. Look into tonight, look into tomorrow, right? As the storm system, whatever it is, just sits along the coastline and just brings a whole lot of moisture. That's why flooding is certainly a concern. So, for today, widespread area from Pensacola all the way over to the Texas-Louisiana border with the possibility of flooding. But you notice there is a narrow swath there, an area that could actually see from Lafayette south through Morgan City. That's going to be the area where flooding is likely today. So if you've got friends or family out that direction, you need to make sure that they're aware. For tomorrow, it's a bit more of a wide swath from Pensacola back through to Texas, and it's just a possibility. So the flooding threat comes down a little bit. But overall, there's just a bunch of rain from this storm system. When we look at we call this the QPF, the quantitative precipitation forecast. When we look at this, it gives you an idea of how much rain we're talking about, right? And you're looking at widespread areas of 3 to 5 inches of rain, particularly kind of along that central Louisiana coastline, 1 to 3 back over to New Orleans. There's a spot there around Mobile that could get about 3, 4 inches of rain, but you kind of get the idea, right? There's just a lot of rain over the next couple of days that's kind of working into that area. Okay. So that's the latest on the storm system. Okay. Meanwhile, back here at home, we've got some real big heat moving our direction on the back side of it, kind of getting the southwest wind. And we're not done with Invest 93 either. There's more to talk about in its long frame cycle, if you will. So we're not done. All right, but let's come back and talk about our forecast. 96 our Saturday, high temperature. That's not feels like, that's actual temperature. 96 on Saturday, 97 on Sunday. Oh my gosh, what is happening here? Let's look at the 7 day forecast and kind of just start things off, okay? Look at where we're at, okay? For today, Thursday, 95 degrees. Tomorrow, 94. But then there's that big heat Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Big ridge of high pressure building in over top of us. As it does, it pushes Invest 93 in and actually, some of the models are talking about this loop-to-loop thing where 93 gets forced north, high pressure builds over top of us, really cranks up the heat, and then as that area of high pressure moves out to the Gulf, the remnants of Invest 93 come back around off the East Coast and become another rainmaker, another rain threat to us. We showed it yesterday on the GFS European kind of model review, and we're going to do that again today. But you notice Tuesday, Wednesday, notice those rain chances coming back up because the energy, the moisture comes back around. Very non-normal weather pattern here. Very non-normal weather pattern here. Give me just a second. I've got to hop on Microsoft Teams. Oh boy. Let me just while we're talking, I've got to hop on Teams and just shoot a quick message. Standby one. Copy those over to 2025 directory. I have done that here, but apparently forgot to push to you. Hold on a second. Regarding tropical icons. Sorry. Okay. All right. So let's do this. Let's kind of get a lay of the land and see what the models are saying for Invest 93 and kind of look long range. All right. So we hit that. This is the raw GFS model. Okay. There's the area of low pressure, Louisiana, Mississippi, kind of on the left side of the screen. Watch as it gets lifted north. And then there's this ridge of high pressure that builds in. That's the area of high pressure that's just going to sear us in. That's going to be the area of high pressure that builds in the heat. And as that's building in, 93's moisture kind of goes up and around it. And then watch what happens here into next week. There's that moisture dropping right back down. Isn't that wild? Right off our east coast again by Wednesday. And Wednesday, we happen to have a 60% coverage of showers and storms. And then the GFS is trying to develop it out east of us, develop another area of low pressure out in the Gulf. So there's a lot of moisture around. Excuse me. There's a lot of moisture around. There's a lot of energy. Remember, we know from the long range cycling path. Look at you trying to do that. GFS wants to spin it and turn it back around. Interesting. Let's go one model run back. I'm just curious. Here, that was the 6Z. Here's the 0Z. There's 93. There's the high pressure. Here comes 93 back again, moving that 93 moisture into the Gulf. I think that's what's going to happen. I don't think that the 6Z is right, but I digress. Let's go from the 0Z to the 18Z. There's 93 going north. There's high pressure. Here comes 93 again. Yeah, yeah, kind of hanging around into the Gulf. So I don't think that the 6E GFS has it correct, but we'll wait and see. All right, let's look at the European. There goes 93. High pressure builds in. Hot. Here comes that moisture again. It's trying to figure it out. It's struggling, but it eventually puts moisture back into the Gulf, lowered pressure into the Gulf. So, all right. So for now, there's some signals of weak stuff next week. Nothing significant, but definitely we're watching our rain chances rise. That would make sense. So, looking at the building heat, all right, let's look at Sunday. Sunday is going to be hot. All right, let's look at the high temperature forecast for Sunday. These are actual highs, these are not feels like temperatures. Okay, 97 in Orlando, 96 in Sanford, 96 degrees in DeLand. On either coast, at least it's going to be a little bit better, but not a ton. Like 93 in Palm Bay, 92 in Titusville, 93 degrees in Daytona Beach. So we're not talking about significant cooling at the beach. 95 in Wildwood, 94 degrees in Ocala. Yeah. So we're all going to be sitting with this big heat bubble over top of us. Right? So, in planning our weekend, just know both days are going to be hot. Both days are going to have lowered rain chances. So, it's going to be good to go outside and do the things. It's just going to be very, very hot. We're going to get a little bit of a break in the rain, and then we're going to get the storms back next week. All right. So that's kind of where we're at. Good morning to. All right. So looking at the comments here, just checking everything. I'll pop back over here. Oh, stop it. You sometimes are such a grumpy thing. Okay. All right. So let's check in with the comments. Jennifer's asking if this will play into hurricane season next year. No, we're not into a recycle just yet. We're only looking at this hurricane season right now. We haven't moved anything forward yet. The slow Gulf low is Sarah. Sarah is the slow Gulf low. This is like, yeah, Finkel is Einhorn. Einhorn is Finkel. Yeah, exactly right. Yep. Victoria's asking, is the storm going to rotate back around? Yeah, it looks like it. It looks like as high pressure builds in, this storm's just going to dance around it and come back around next week, which does fit our long range weather pattern of another opportunity for pressure lowering next week. So it's not the craziest thing I've ever seen. And you notice rain chances go down Saturday, Sunday, Monday as that big ridge of high pressure builds in over top of us. And then as it moves away, we get that storm system returning to us. Yeah. Jessica's asking, can we see how much rainfall helped the deficit in Daytona Beach? So, yeah, we did have a daily record in Daytona Beach, but here's the new updated numbers for rainfall across town. Orlando, an inch and a half surplus. The rest of us still in a deficit. Sanford, Leesburg, not so bad. But Daytona Beach, Melbourne, you could definitely still use some rainfall. So we'll work on it, hopefully, these next couple of weeks. Remember, even though we did get some good tropical rains, we need more. Yeah, we still need more rain, which is crazy when you think about it, truth be told, right? That the rains, not everybody got those big rains, right? Some, it was kind of feast or famine kind of thing. Yeah. All right. Let's see here. I'd like good weather in the Gulf early next week for my cruise, please. Tim says, I'll do what I can. Right? Yeah. Uh, is your prediction for named storms and major hurricanes the same? Landon's asking. Yeah, we don't touch it. When we put out our numbers, we don't touch it whatsoever. So if you're asking about the overall forecasts, let's see. I know Colorado State just updated theirs what last week. Stand by. Here's the updated storm numbers from everybody. So yeah, NOAA has not touched theirs. WESH has not touched theirs. So Colorado State dropped their numbers just a little bit to 16, 8, and 3. We've left ours at 16 to 20, 8 to 10, 4 to 6. And NOAA's still going with 13 to 19, 6 to 10, and 3 to 5. So yeah. Um, Colorado State, Phil Klotzbach is a good friend in the forecasting world to so many people. He helps all of us out. And he's, the difference is we go with ranges, he's trying to go with specific numbers. But if there's one thing that I've learned from Phil, it's that long range forecasting is humbling. Those are his words, not mine. So it is what it is. Pamela says, I like the rain, just not the lightning. I get it. Totally get it. Speaking of which, talking about lightning, I wasn't going to bring it up, but because you had brought lightning up, there in just the last couple of days, there have been several lightning fatalities. I hate to see it. Yeah, yeah. So sorry to see that. But now in the United States, we have lost 12 people to lightning strikes this year, one in Florida. Um, Yeah, hate to see that. So when the thunder roars, head indoors. I see people, and particularly tourists, that just don't know the difference, and it's worrisome. So anyway, bringing it up just because somebody had brought up not liking the lightning, and obviously, lightning is a very, very, very dangerous thing. So it's good to respect that. Very good to respect that. Victoria, it is crazy. How can we still be -6 in Melbourne? I wish we could see rainfall total for Palm Bay and West Melbourne. Well, and that's the thing, right? That's the struggle, is that the official reporting station is at the Melbourne airport. So that's the struggle. Oh, man. Let's see here. I got you, Bruce. I see your comment. I see you. Tara says people don't take thundering and lightning serious. In our apartment complex pool, I hear it and run. I mean, that's what you should do, you know? Safety is safety. Each strike of lightning is hotter than the surface of the sun. When you think about it like that, You don't come back from that. That's why, don't bathe the kids, don't shut, you've got to take it easy. You've got to take it easy. All right. What other questions, comments, concerns do we have? The good news is that tropically, we're, aside from Invest 93, we're relatively quiet. But and we did look long range yesterday, but looking long range, like there's opportunities in the Gulf. We're entering into that active Gulf part of the pattern. So yeah, we absolutely have to watch that. My brother Frank says our inspector has been struck twice. Seriously? Direct or like indirect? Bruce says I don't see comments until I comment. Weird day. Weird. Sorry about that. Yeah. Don't mess around with lightning. Or Mother Nature. Don't mess around with Mother Nature. That's just a good way to think about it. Don't mess around with Mother Nature. You know? The ghosted woman, yeah, people in my apartment complex are still swimming when the thunder is roaring. I'm like, nope, out. Yeah, I know. No, that's what you should do. Yeah. Little League Baseball in Central Florida never takes lightning seriously. I've had to personally pull my kid off the field many times when the coaches kept playing. Well, that's not good. That's not good. I don't like that. Is it safe to shower while there's lightning? We've always had that question. Thank you for these sessions. Of course, Susan. No, it is not safe to shower. Think of how good water is as a conductor of electricity. People have died just seriously. People have died doing dishes during a thunderstorm. So if you think about it like that, no, it's not good. It's not safe to shower during a lightning storm. Not at all. Jessica's asking, do you think we'll stay end zone neutral through the rest of the season? I think we're end zone neutral now. Do we start ticking into a La Nina type phase? It's possible. We'll have to see. We'll have to see, right? Yeah. If so, it's not going to be a strong one, I don't think. Yeah. All right. Ay, ay, ay. Lightning hit right outside of my house, Don says. I've seen some people posting about how like they've had their air conditioners busted because that my pool heater at my house seemingly is not working. I'm hoping it's just a capacitor or something, but yeah, there's that. All right, Matt's asking about the Madden Julian oscillation. Good question. Let me pop that up here. All right, so the Madden Julian oscillation. This is a way to kind of tell where there's vorticity in the atmosphere. The brown shades denotes no vorticity. Now, I've got this on the wide shot because it goes in phases. If you're in phase, other areas are not in phase. So right now, the Central Pacific is in phase, whereas the Eastern Pacific is not in phase. So watch through time. Notice by like mid to late next week, it's not that we're in phase, but the Caribbean and the Gulf and the Atlantic near us definitely go more in phase. So around July 23rd, I would say that at least the atmosphere is more wanting to get going. Then we go out of phase for a while, and that makes sense. We go out of phase all the way through to early August. And the long range cycling weather pattern shows that. But again, by next week, there's a little window there where we could go back in phase and thus we could start to see something going. So makes total sense. And then we get into that quiet pattern again. And then into August, it's going to be go time, I think. Yeah. Yep. That's where we're at. Never a dull moment, my friends. We've had some close hits by us the other day. You got to get inside. You got to get inside. Got to get inside. When we first moved into our house, we got struck by lightning and it blew the outlet out of the wall. I remember as a kid, whenever there was a thunderstorm, we'd have to go start pulling, unplugging the TV and doing all that stuff. You know, don't do that anymore. Probably should. Truth be told, probably should, but I digress. My generator and transfer box got hit a few weeks back from a lightning strike. Terry, that's awful. Cheryl's asking, can Florida lightning have to be right at the storm or can the storm be miles away and still hit you? It can be miles away and still hit you. If you hear thunder, you're close enough to get struck because that means that that energy is nearby. Case in point, just not long ago, I was on the air. There was a thunderstorm something like 6, 10 miles away from New Smyrna Beach. And I was saying it was heading toward New Smyrna Beach. And I was saying, this is dangerous. I hope those people are getting out of the water. This was on West 2 News at noon. And if you were watching Coffee Talk that day, you would have remembered it. Well, don't you know there were two bolts from the blue and a man died because he was struck by lightning? So, yeah, if you hear the thunder, you're close enough to get struck. Now, here's the problem, and I learned this in the aviation world a lot. I read, and I'm going to tie it back to aviation just because it's this is an investigated thing. When there's a crash, it's never just typically one thing. It's kind of a series of events. And what often is found when there's some significant pilot error is this pilot has done this incorrectly for a while and they kept getting away with it and they kept being fine and they said, oh well, then this is a fine way to do things, and eventually your luck runs out. And I would say the exact same thing when it comes to thunder and lightning, right? Like, yeah, there's a thunderstorm in the distance and you're safe, you're in the pool and you're not getting struck, and you know what, you may go your entire life being fine, or one time you may not be and you may get struck. So, you know what I mean? That I can't speak for you on that, right? I know for me, when the thunder and lightning get close, I'm the heck out of Dodge, right? I know when I fly an airplane, I'm very much business because, you start getting lackadaisical, things start happening. So I don't like playing the odds in there. All right. So that's just me. We all are different. All right. Let's see here. Does lightning not strike twice in the same place? Janice is asking. That's an old tale. That's not correct at all. Yeah. FPL has a surge protector that they install at your meter from like 20 bucks a month. That's a lot of 20 bucks a month. That's a lot of money. Yeah. Don, my son is curious and wants to know, based on your long-range forecast, your cycles and patterns, is there any time frame in your forecast that stands out the most to you? Yeah, I mean the next few weeks do. And then we get quiet for a little while, and then kind of late August into September, it gets going again. Yeah. Tom Goodyear, this is a great question. Tom Goodyear is asking, can heat lightning be dangerous? So, Tom, I'm going to blow your mind here. There's no such thing as heat lightning. Yeah, I'll let that settle in for a minute. That's a great question, and I'm not teasing you at all for it. But there's no such thing as heat lightning. All heat lightning is, as we know it, I mean, I was raised told, oh, that's just heat lightning. It's off in the distance. What do you mean? Well, it's hot, so the atmosphere is just letting out lightning. No, 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 no. All heat lightning is a thunderstorm way off in the distance. 30, 40, 50, 60, 100 miles. Way too far for you to hear it. But remember, light travels very, 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 very far. And I had this conversation not long ago with somebody in their 60s. I was out east, somewhere along I-95. You see all of this lightning. Oh, look at the heat lightning. No, that's a thunderstorm way out there. Pull up the radar. I was along the I-95 corridor. That was a thunderstorm in the Gulf, all the way on the other side of the peninsula. But you could still see the lightning flashes. So yeah, interestingly enough, there's no such thing as heat lightning. And for anybody that's like mind blown, I get it. I'll give you a couple of minutes to like let that settle in. Yeah, there's no such thing as heat lightning. Yep. Carol says Dennis Phillips reminds us there's no such thing as heat lightning all the time. It's just one of those things. Yeah. Like the heat lightning info. Yep. 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 Patty, still wondering about sitting on the toilet during. I don't think you have a problem. Because it's not like I don't think that Look, I don't know. I've not heard of any. I've heard of one lightning strike blowing out a toilet. I mean, if you got to go, you got to go to that point. I don't know that I'm going to be. I don't think that that threat is as high. You know what I mean? Oh man, that's too funny. That's too funny. Walter says it's a disturbance. Use the NOAA hurricane website. What are you talking about? Are you talking about Invest 93? Because at 8 o'clock, the most recent update, it was still in Invest. That I don't know what you're referring to. It's a disturbance. Yes, we know it's a disturbance, Walter. So I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, Jesus, Jeff. I was waiting for somebody to do that. I was waiting for somebody to say that. Ah, boy, oh boy. You guys are crazy. All right. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Becca, good morning to you. Good job. Good job. Congratulations. Being along the coast, I can see it out over the waters in the Atlantic in the evening, right? Yeah. Debbie's asking, why do they call it an invest? Because once it gets tagged as an invest, they're able to start running computer models on it, right? So that's what happens. They tag it as an invest, and once it's an invest, they tag it, they categorize it, and from there they go. Yeah. All right. So that's what happens. Yeah. So there it is there now. Yeah, Walter, I don't know what you're talking about. I just looked. I There's no information that they didn't change anything in the last few minutes. So yeah, don't know what to tell you, buddy. Don't know what you're talking about. All right. I use lightningmaps.org. Try it. I think you would love it. I've never heard of lightningmaps.org. Lightningmaps.org. Is that like a lightning? Oh, it's like a lightning tracker. That's cool. I didn't know that existed. I like it. All right. Can you go to the parks Friday? Why not? There's going to be some heat. There's going to be. Oh, derailed with it. Yeah, got it. Yeah. I mean, can you go to the parks? You can go to the parks any day. You absolutely can go to the parks any day. It's going to be a hot one, but that's survivable. Just keep hydrated, right? Right? Don't get struck by light. Yeah, apparently, right? All right. Other questions, comments, concerns, anything at all? We've got another minute or two. Looks like a lovely day to fly. There's going to be some storms too. Oh, I didn't even look at Futurecast today. What a terrible meteorologist. Stand by. We got talking about the tropics so much. Here's our local Futurecast for today. I got to take care of you, all right? All right, give it a second to load. Load the gray. There you go. All right. Here's Futurecast for today, my friends. Beautiful morning. Little bit of coastal shower activity, 11, 12 o'clock. Getting into the metro by 12, 1, 2, 3. And then by about 4, 5, 6 o'clock, it all kind of works off toward the west coast. So, gotta love that. Gotta love that. That's our 60% coverage of showers and storms for today. We can handle that. Yeah. Tina says, saw a video saying it was going to loop around and come back, but don't think the models show that. They did. Yeah, I showed it earlier in Coffee Talk. Essentially, it's going to kind of get working around. Yeah. Yep. Beverly, will it stay Invest 93 when it circles around? Probably not. It'll probably get let go and then it'll come back around as because it completely falls apart. So yeah. All right. All right. That's all I've got, friends. Listen, be the sunshine in someone else's day. Thank you all for hanging out for Coffee Talk. I'm gonna go work on a bunch of graphic stuff today on my day off. All right. I'll see y'all later. Take care.